The King's Shadow. Prologue. The Curse of the Bloodline. In the ancient kingdom of Udene, a great king named Eze Agbala ascended the throne during a time of turmoil. To protect his reign from constant threats of war and betrayal, he sought the aid of the gods at the sacred Ukpuru tree. The gods, moved by his prayers, granted him a shadow spirit named Ekwensu, a being bound by divine law to protect the king and his descendants. But the gods issued a grave warning. Ekwensu will guard your throne against the world, but it cannot save you from betrayal by your blood. One day a king of Udene will face a choice that will shape the fate of the kingdom. Generations passed, and Ekwensu faithfully served each ruler. Though invisible to the naked eye, it lingered near the king's side, protecting him from harm and whispering warnings of danger. Yet its true nature, a being both guardian and test, was never fully understood. Now the spirit stood silently by the throne of King Obieze, a wise and beloved ruler, unaware that the prophecy was about to be fulfilled. The king's heir, King Obieze of Udene, was a man of deep wisdom and solemn presence. At 54, his broad shoulders carried the weight of a kingdom that had known peace for decades. Under his rule, the yam barns were full, the markets thrived, and the people sang his praises. Yet the king's private life was far less harmonious. His eldest son, Ikemba, had grown distant. At 25, Ikemba was strong and intelligent. Yet his fiery ambition often clashed with his father's cautious wisdom. The people saw him as the future of Udene, but the bond between father and son was strained. "You must temper your impatience, Ikemba," Obieze told him one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. "A king must act with wisdom, not impulse." Ikemba frowned, his jaw tight. "And yet wisdom sometimes looks like hesitation, father. The world changes while we wait." Ekwensu, unseen, listened to their words, its silent presence watching both men. The shadow spirit had no voice in human affairs, but it recognized the seeds of discord. Shadows of betrayal. The kingdom of Udene prepared for the annual Iriji festival, the new yam celebration that honored the gods and ancestors. This year's festival was special. It marked the 20th year of Obieze's reign. The council and villagers prepared dances, feasts, and rituals to showcase their gratitude for the king's leadership. Yet beneath the surface of celebration, unrest stirred. Some council members whispered doubts about the king's ability to adapt to the changing times. The younger warriors admired Ikemba's boldness, and secret conversations hinted at support for him to take the throne before his father's time had ended. One evening, as Obieze sat in the palace court reviewing reports of failing crops in the northern villages, Ekwensu's voice echoed in his mind. "Beware, my king, the danger lies closer than you think." The king stiffened. He had heard this warning before but dismissed it as paranoia. Yet the signs of discontent were growing. Crops failed despite prayers, elders reported strange illnesses, and even the usually loyal palace guards seemed uneasy. The festival begins. The Iriji festival began with grand ceremonies. The people danced in colorful ankara. The sound of udu drums filled the air, and the scent of roasted yam and palm oil wafted through the market. King Obieze sat on a high platform, his crown glinting in the sunlight as priests offered sacrifices to the gods. Ikemba, dressed in warrior regalia, led a procession of young men demonstrating their strength. The crowd cheered, and whispers of his potential to rule spread among the villagers. That night, during the sacred yam-tasting ritual, Obieze felt the weight of Ekwensu's presence behind him. The shadow spirit seemed restless, its form flickering faintly in the torchlight. "Something is wrong," the king murmured to himself. As the night deepened, one of Obieze's most trusted counselors, Nkem, approached him with grave news. "Your Majesty," Nkem whispered, "I have heard whispers of betrayal. Some believe Ikemba seeks to take the throne by force." Obieze's heart clenched. He dismissed Nkem with a nod, his thoughts swirling. Could his own son truly betray him? The confrontation. The next day, Obieze summoned Ikemba to the palace's inner chamber. The room was dimly lit, the air heavy with the scent of burning incense. "Sit, my son," Obieze said, his voice steady but firm. Ikemba obeyed, though his posture was tense. "There are rumors, Ikemba," Obieze began. "Rumors that you plot against me." Ikemba's eyes narrowed. "And do you believe these rumors, father? Or have you always doubted me?" "I doubt no one without cause," Obieze replied. "But the kingdom's peace is fragile, and I must act to protect it." Ikemba rose abruptly. "Is that what you call it? Protection? For years, I have watched you cling to old ways while the world changes. I do not seek to harm you, father, but I will not stand by as Udene stagnates." Before Obieze could respond, Ekwensu appeared between them, its form taking on the silhouette of a great warrior. The shadow loomed over Ikemba, its eyes glowing faintly. "Do not let anger blind you, my prince," it intoned, its voice a low rumble. "The path of betrayal leads only to ruin." Ikemba froze, his defiance faltering for a moment. Then he turned and stormed out, leaving Obieze and Ekwensu alone. The betrayal unfolds. On the final night of the festival, as the kingdom gathered for the closing ceremony, disaster struck. A group of warriors loyal to Ikemba stormed the palace gates, their intentions clear. Obieze, flanked by his guards and the ever-present shadow of Ekwensu, faced his son in the throne room. "Why, Ikemba?" the king demanded, his voice filled with both sorrow and anger. Ikemba stepped forward, his expression a mixture of determination and regret. "Because I love this kingdom, father. I will not watch it crumble under your hesitation. The people need a leader who will act." As the tension rose, Ekwensu intervened, its voice echoing in the chamber. "The gods watch, and the ancestors judge. This conflict will bring no victory, only loss. Choose wisely." Redemption and legacy. Obieze lowered his staff, his voice trembling with emotion. "Ikemba, my son, I will not fight you. If you believe you are ready to rule, then take the throne." Ikemba faltered, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. The gathered warriors murmured among themselves. Ekwensu stepped between them, its form shimmering with a faint golden light. "The gods do not favor division. Only unity can save this land." Ikemba fell to his knees, his voice breaking. I was wrong, father. Forgive me." The tension broke as Obieze embraced his son. The warriors lowered their weapons, and peace was restored. In the weeks that followed, father and son worked together to strengthen the kingdom. Obieze began to prepare Ikemba for the throne, guiding him with wisdom and love. Ekwensu, its purpose fulfilled, faded back into the shadows, its presence a reminder of the delicate balance between power and unity. Epilogue, A Kingdom United. Years later, as Ikemba ascended the throne after Obieze's peaceful passing, he reflected on the trials they had faced together. The story of the king's shadow became a cherished legend, a lesson in humility, forgiveness, and the enduring strength of family. In the heart of Udene, the sacred Ukpuru tree stood tall, its roots entwined with the spirit of a kingdom that had weathered the storm. This story, rich with Igbo culture and a balance of realism and supernatural elements, offers a tale of leadership, conflict, and redemption. Don't forget to like and subscribe.